All right, good afternoon. My name is Jesus Pereira, the Superintendent of the Veterans Assistance Commission of Winnebago County. Just a quick update. It's legislative season. There's a bunch of things going on that is probably going to impact a lot of veterans in Winnebago County, and we want to share some of those items with you, along with some quick updates about the VAC. There's a lot of state stuff going on. Let me cover some bills that are somewhat in support, that has a lot of support from veteran organizations across the state that you should probably know about and may want to get your posts involved in. One of them is HB 2714, which is the Heroes Way sign. It allows veteran service organizations to apply for the organization must be federally chartered or state chartered, but it allows you to apply for state designation of an honorary road sign for any member of the United States Armed Forces who was killed in action, which I think is a great thing here. There's another one here, House Bill 2353. There's also a Senate Bill 0032. It's a SNAP benefits for veterans. It amends the administration article of the Illinois Public Aid Code, which provides that subject to federal approval, if required, a household that includes one or more veterans or members of the armed forces shall be categorically eligible for a supplemental nutrition assistance program if the gross income of such household is at or below 200% of the non-farm income poverty guidelines. So another great opportunity for veterans to make sure that they're getting the opportunity to get the food that they need. There's House Bill 1362, which is the Service Member Employment Comp, and it amends the Service Member Employment and Reemployment Rights Act in a provision concerning differential compensation and changes the definition of work days to mean the actual number of shifts rather than days. The employee would have worked during the period of military leave, but for the service member's military obligation. Further provides that work days are tabulated without regard for the number of hours in a shift. Regardless, if the shift extends into the next day, it removes a provision providing that work hours that extend into the next calendar day count as two work days. So basically, if you were going to take time off to do military work, here in this case, if your shift starts later in the evening and rolls into the next day, it still is going to be just one day rather than taking two. The Veterans Paid Leave Act, which is House Bill 1421, it creates the Veterans Day Paid Leave Act, and it requires each employer, subject to certain exceptions, to provide each employee who is a veteran with a paid day off on Veterans Day if the employee would have otherwise worked. The employee would have to ask for the day off, and the employer is supposed to give them the day off if it goes all the way through. Um, and there's a definition of what a veteran is and who can apply. So take a look and follow the HB 1421 to see that makes it all the way through. All of these bills you can find on the Illinois General Assembly's website. You just put HB 1421 in the search, and you'll be able to follow this all the way through. There's a Senate Bill 0186, which is temporary military licensure. This is like reciprocity for those who have licenses in other professions. And when they move to the state of Illinois, it allows them to temporarily work in that field while they're waiting for their new license to come through. I think it allows temporary permits for up to like 3 years of date of issuance. So when someone PCSs from one station to another or moves from one state to another, it gives them the opportunity to get right into work rather than waiting the time that it takes for some of these agencies to get you a new license. There's also another bill, H Bill 2362, that gives an opportunity for the air medal. There's a lot of license plates in Illinois, I've noticed. This one just adds the air medal license plate to the bunch. Then we have some other items here that are kind of national in nature. So in the VA side, one of the things as VSOs that we deal with a lot is overdevelopment of VA claims. And all that means is, for instance, when you if you come to our office, we often ask you to get your medical records, and we show that you have a diagnosis for something, and we show that you meet certain conditions for certain things. And quite often, VA will go ahead and ask for another examination of that to make sure you have the diagnoses and or to see what the extent of the disabling condition is when we've already sent it in. Well, that's at times can be considered overdevelopment. So this last week I was in DC. We were talking to members of Congress and members from the VA about this exactly. And there are bills out there to try to crack down on this and to obviously speed this up. The longer these claims take, the more it costs Congress, the more it costs everyone to develop these claims, and the longer it takes for you to get a decision. So that's one thing that we have been looking at. Um, some other items here is considering to restore criminal penalties for having unaccredited people processing claims. I'm sure you've heard of the term claim shark at this point. It's something that the VFW came out in identifying people who charge for initial consultation and or preparation and or filing of initial claims. And what's really important for you to understand is that you shouldn't have to pay for initial ever filing your claims. There are plenty of organizations like in this state, IDVA, which is a state entity. You have Veterans Assistance Commissions throughout the state. Those are all paid for by tax dollars, different levels of tax dollars, but they're paid by tax dollars. Then you have veteran service organizations like the VFW, American Legion, so on and so forth, who sometimes have accredited individuals who can file claims on your behalf. And then you can file claims on your own behalf. You don't have to pay anyone to file your original claim. It's just not necessary. It's illegal. You can pay someone with your appeals if you like. There's accredited agents out there, and you can look them up on the Office of General Counsel's website for VA. And this is more of a PSA at this point, but you shouldn't have to pay for these, and you shouldn't have to pay for nexus letters or any of those things. These things just come natural from getting health care and just going about your regular health care. But there is a lot out there that folks are trying to get done to pass bills that will allow folks to charge to do these claims, and you shouldn't have to. So, for instance, there's bills out there that will allow folks to charge up to, say, 5 times the increase of compensation. So recently, we had a Vietnam veteran who, and this is in the industry, what we call a fairly easy claim, so to speak, with these presumptive conditions, which are conditions that Congress already knows that if a Vietnam veteran was in country, they've concede exposure. They concede that if they had certain illnesses like diabetes, ischemic heart disease, and some other things, that exposure was the cause of those particular illnesses, and you're all set. Well, in this case, this individual also had a cancer that absolutely got them the 100%. Well, from $0 to almost $4,000 a month, that would have been almost a $20,000 bill that this person would have had to pay for the initial filing. And that's just something that we don't support. So the GUARD Act is out there to help defeat that. We don't want folks to have to pay for that. So keep that out there. We're also looking for, obviously, better healthcare for female veterans. There's just not enough healthcare for female veterans within our VA hospitals or in the VA healthcare arena. Community care does a really good job for other things that I know males need. I don't know what that looks like in the female veteran world or sphere, but we would like to hear more about that. See what you need. We dive into legislation and advocating on behalf of veterans because this is the other part of what the VAC does. A lot of folks believe that, or historically have thought that the VAC is just here to do the public aid portion, and that's really just one part of what we do, and it's actually one of the smaller parts of what we do, the disability compensation, advocating on behalf of veterans, talking to our legislators, advocating on behalf of our veterans is really a big part because we can change and shift how we operate and how things are addressed in the general public by hearing from you, the veteran, and how things are operating. And one of the big things is representation and how many people are here to represent you. So that's something to think about. For those of you who are 100% service connected and or who may get 100% service connected one day, there's the CHAMP VA, which is a healthcare option that's available to the spouses of and dependents of the veteran. But the application process is terrible. It takes a long time and it's manual, right? So there's no real good modernization for it. For the VSOs on our end, there's no button that we can push to direct upload items up to the Champ VA office. Sometimes it takes 6 to 10 months to get a response. There's no good tracking, so we're looking to have VA modernize all that. And we're hoping to find a way to have VA expand dental care to those that are not 100% service connected. We believe that dental care is health care, and that's just the bottom line. Um, it's 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 just health care. That's it. On the VAC side, we did submit a supplemental budget that won't be reviewed by the county at this point, by the recommendation of their council. So we're just going to keep moving along. So currently we're operating with one less VSO and no driver in both our vehicles for the local veteran transportation is down. We are still taking applications and we do have a few more new drivers for the VTN program where we drive people up to Madison. So if you're interested in participating in that, go ahead and fill out an application, give us a call. We'll get you that program's still up and running. But not too this last meeting we had, someone did come up with a great idea about receiving donations. So we're going to have to look into the proper way of receiving donations. I've never received donations in this county for the VAC, and basically we have to follow, or we should follow, county policies on that. So I'm gonna have to look into that and then adapt it for our use. But that was a really good idea. But that's all I got for now. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and email me if you need to, or find us on our website. Or you can just email me directly, Jesus, JESUS, or no, it's JPEREIRA @vac.winco.gov. See you guys later.